Joining me now is Tymofiy Mylovanov, Ukraine's former Minister of Economic Development, Trade and Agriculture, and it is good to see you again. Before we discuss the state of the conflict, can you tell us what last night was like for you in Kyiv and what your fears are as you there? It's 11:20 p.m., right? In Kyiv, you're approaching another night.
Well, the new attack is here, and while I was waiting on a call, I can hear explosions outside. So maybe even during this couple of minutes that we'll be talking, you can hear it. So I slept where I am now, and there's this sound, buzzing sound of drones, and then explosions after that, and then later in night, closer to sort of, early morning, there are ballistic missiles, and I know I survived. I kind of, but what can you do about it? You just get through it.
It has been just such a long endurance race for so many people there in Kyiv, and literally one of the largest attacks that the war has known. Given that, what do you make of all the recent diplomacy or lack thereof? Russia has been ferocious, as we were saying, in its attack, and that was just hours after getting off the phone with President Trump.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The timing is conspicuous. Sort of Putin is sending a finger to everyone. You see President Trump is extremely frustrating. There's of course some conspiracy theories in Ukraine that is sort of which I don't subscribe and majority don't subscribe to. But people are frustrated. They have sleepless nights, and they're saying, are we being forced to surrender? Do we have to go into this new gulag camps that they're setting up at, or torture that we hear about, and know stories of people who are in occupied territories. So, people are really, really worried. And this recent news of a stop of Patriot missiles, they were in Poland, the shipment was stopped. That adds to the aggravation. The fact that President Trump and President Putin made no progress, this also upsetting. So it's a difficult time, and I think Ukraine will stand, but people will die.
Blunt and obviously absolutely true for everyone living through this in Ukraine. In his call with President Trump, President Zelensky said that the two of them discussed working together to strengthen protection of our skies. Do you believe this is genuine, or that the White House is perhaps stalling, like Putin is stalling, especially in cooperation with things like, again, those Patriot missiles?
Well, I don't think the administration is homogenous. I've been in politics. I've been in negotiations, including with the United States, with the previous administrations, and there are people with different opinions, and there's constant back and forth. And I think that's what I guess I would think that something like that is happening. There are different discussions, and some people have a position that Ukraine has to be supported. Others have a position that we will end the war sooner if we stop supplying weapons to Ukraine. I think it's a mistaken position, misinformed position, basically because people underestimate what Putin will do. And if Ukraine falls, I don't think it will happen, but if Ukraine ever falls, that will be a disaster for European security and then for the United States too.
So far, the United States has not only refused to impose new sanctions on Russia. Politico is reporting that Trump envoy Steve Witkoff says sanctions against Russia should actually be lifted, at least the energy sanctions. In your estimation, given, your former position in government, how effective could the sanctions be if the U.S. decides to actually go ahead with some of these secondary sanctions, or at least enforce the ones that are already on the table?
So it's a half empty, half full glass story. Sanctions have not been as effective as they could have been potentially had, let's say, the Biden administration imposed them right away once Putin started the invasion. It's a salami tactics a little bit over time. The escalation management that didn't really work out, but it worked somewhat. And it denied, hundreds of billions of dollars of revenues to Russia, which means the Russian defense industry didn't have those hundreds of billions. Now, could secondary sanctions work to push Russia to the table? Absolutely. I think they can, but it requires political will and coordination across multiple countries, which is difficult but possible.
Okay, Tymofiy Mylovanov, thank you so much. We wish you some measure of peace in the hours to come, as you say, it looks likely again that there will be some kind of assault by Russia. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.